Salvete, discepoli and discepole, magistri et amici librum. This is Paolo Granata, and this is actually my avatar. And I wanted to greet you all in Latin, as we are in a very special place today. This year, as a creative response to the disruption of the traditional learning models, I decided to explore the potential that VR holds for rethinking online teaching and remote learning, but also rethinking the way we undertake humanistic research. And so, here we are, back in time, in the medieval times. I'm right at the entrance of a medieval scriptorium, the workroom in the monastery, usually beside the library, where manuscripts were made, handmade, and written. And of course, this is a 3D replica, a 3D immersive model we are using to literally dive into the world of bookmaking and explore, like never before, the beautiful nature of the manuscript culture. All right. Okay, let's get started. Follow me. This way. Wow. I wish you could feel what I'm feeling right now. I'm using an Oculus, by the way, another Latin term. I really feel like, immersed into this unique environment. So impressive. Wow. There is actually a little historical evidence of how the scriptoria were made, but we know how they were organized, right? Well, I'll show you. Come this way. Let me just turn around this large table. All right, that might be the table of the armarius, the director, the person in charge for general management of the scriptorium, distributing and supervising the copying process. On this desk, you can see books of all kinds and sizes. To use a fancy word, they are codices. The smaller codex may be a psalter or a book of hours for personal use usually. And the bigger one may be a liturgical book or a philosophical tractatus. And here you see there's a question mark icon over there. Actually, we are making this 3D model as an augmented reality. So you can click on it and find information and details. So essentially, that's pretty useful, I think. You also see some rolls of parchment. Parchment was extraordinarily durable, the most important support for bookmaking in the medieval times, before papermaking came to Europe in the 12th century. Let's walk this way. I'll show you. You see many parchment rolls. Actually, not all medieval manuscripts were written on parchment. The Middle Ages opened with a long legacy of papyrus book production, and many texts basically were copied from the papyrus rolls. All right, let me show you this shelf right here. Kind of a chemistry laboratory. You see the variety of materials and tools employed in the manuscript production. Of course, inks of all kinds and pigments to create a very large range of colors. Some pigments were poisons, so don't touch it. In this jars there is also some gesso, pumice stone powder, ash, chalk powder. Believe it or not, even breadcrumbs. Yeah, essentially all these materials were used for preparing the writing surface, or even for preserving the parchment in all its beauty. And by the way, somewhere there in the shelf there is probably some golden leaves employed for the so-called illumination, right? Probably the most luxury form of decoration in the medieval codex. Wonderful. And then we know that several copyists were engaged at the same time in copying the same book. So the original text was distributed among several scribes. But let's come here. Let's go closer to one of those slanted writing tables, a lectern, the medieval workstation where manuscripts were copied and were quill in hand the scribe used to spend hours of hard work. Here you see the copies was provided with the original text by the Armarius. Books were held open by weights hanging from each end of a string. Let's move this way. You may wonder why these desktops were slanted. Actually, if you try writing with a quill on a flat surface, the ink does not flow from the quill very well, so you need a slanted table to facilitate the writing. So you see some tools, compass and knife to rule the page, actually. And of course, a scribe cannot write without a pot of ink, and a lot of ink, actually. On this lectern, you see also the so-called bifolio, a large piece of parchment, then folded in half to produce 2 leaves, 4 pages, and eventually bound together to form a codex. So now, this way, I wanted to show you a particular device we embedded into one of these lecterns. Well, if you think that everything you saw here so far in this virtual scriptorium is pretty cool, well, there is more. There is something even more surprising we are building to rethink the way we explore digital manuscripts. Come here. Can you see this blue light over here? This blue light will take you down the rabbit hole into a new world to really let you experience medieval manuscripts like never before. And so, follow me down the rabbit hole. Wow, I really feel like Alice in Wonderland. You got it. I'm shrunk down to the size of an inkhorn. That looks really amazing. Unbelievable. Wow, let's see what's around here. Oh, this is a knife. A penknife was usually employed not only for sharpening the quill, but also for fixing mistakes, essentially to scrape off any mistakes from the parchment made in transcription. This one may look like a knife. It's actually a so-called plummet, a piece of lead alloy, which was fundamental for ruling the page. Let's move this way. Wow, what a beautiful inkhorn. Huge black ink, usually carbon or iron gall ink. You can see another pot with some chalk powder, or maybe breadcrumbs, who knows. Alright, okay, let's go finally dive into the manuscript. I'll jump here. Wow, unbelievable. We put together here verso and recto of a bifolio, a book of hours, likely of French origin, featuring a beautiful Gothic script. You can see how many details, the grain, the texture of the parchment, rendering some imperfections and defects. You see here, as the ink takes some moments to dry, you can see the ink is more concentrated in the lower edges of the letters. Great. Let's move on. Let's move on to the head, the top edge of the manuscript. Wow, what a beautiful pen work flourishing here. Thin lines, floral decorations, blue, green, awesome. And it's huge, actually. What I like the most, actually, are the initial illuminated letters in shades of gold, blue, green, white, red. Wow. Here you see the illumination, the ultra thin film of gold applied to make the letters really shining. Wow, brilliant. And here you find some text in red. Beautiful, beautifully written. You see the strokes of the pen. Wow, amazing. Let's move on. Let's move to the recto. See the fading black ink? Yeah, it seems to suggest that the folio was once on display by a previous owner. Let's go up and finally to the head. Tu lumines inspirazione. And I think exploring a digital manuscript in this fashion way is absolutely inspiring. Wow. Deo gratias. Alright, All right, let me climb on top of the lecturer. So, all right, so here you can see the entire world, here. I hope you enjoyed this at first glance demonstration of the potential that VR holds for giving new life to these marvelous artifacts, showing the magic world of the manuscript culture. That's all for today. Ad Maiora.